All right, Stochastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you on a Sunday fun day, joined by Matt Belman. We are not going to be joined by Tyler Glasnow today, who was scratched. I just realized that about 35 seconds ago as I went to build my cash game lineups, and I said, where the hell's Tyler Glasnow? Oh, good times, Matt.
So bad.
I did go for a 5-mile walk after I... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I said I did go for a 5-mile walk after I wrote my article, and I got back home and took a shower, and here we are. And I got to rebuild some strategy. No Glass now. It's a shame.
Yeah, it was almost, obviously Glass now is probably the most talented pitcher on the slate, but makes the decision point easier for me at least. Don't even have to worry about him. So yeah, I'm still feeling salty at DraftKings though. Last night was the League of Legends World Championship. It's no live final, but it was the World Championship. And, it was at 2 a.m., so it was up late. DraftKings decided to make it, obviously I'm sure you know nothing about League of Legends. I don't even know how to play the game, but it was essentially week 18 of the NFL season that they decided to have the World Championship. It was a 2-game slate. In the second game, one of the teams benched their entire lineup for like the second map. So DK really fudged up. I'm still salty about it. Obviously, I didn't win it. If I had won it, I probably wouldn't feel so salty about how they did it.
That's an unfortunate happenstance there. I'm a little bit familiar with the mids, the support.
Yeah, COVID times.
COVID, and I play enough to get the crowns because I
respect that. I know others that do that too. Honestly, I'd never even heard of it until COVID, then started playing a little bit, made some online friends because of it, and have just stuck with it playing DFS, and it's actually been really profitable for me. So very unfortunate how this worked out. Like I had 8 entries in the tournament out of 200 people. I never would have even tried to qualify had I known it was going to be a slate like this. That said, everyone was dealing with the same slate. So, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be, a sore loser over it. It was an awful slate, but everyone still had the same chance to win. So unfortunately, I did not win it.
Oh, bummer. All right. Well, let's see. Let's call up the weather here and see what we've got, since that is going to be a topic here. We've got Tampa Bay and Detroit. We sort of alluded to Tyler Glasnow. Really have no interest in this game now, even going against the Motor City Kitties. It's going to be wet there. I was willing to roll the dice with Glasnow, but hoping they'd find a window where he could get in his 90-95 pitches, 4.5 innings, and get 9 strikeouts. That's not going to be the case today, so I'm probably skipping that one. We'll take a further look here at weather.com, see what's up a little later in the show. Minnesota looks a little tricky as well. That would be the other pitcher I'm interested in. That would be Zach Gallen, which, if you haven't realized, everybody, Zach Gallen is currently sitting at plus 200 to win the National League Cy Young Award, with tied right now with Spencer Strider and just ahead of, I think it's Blake Snell at 250. That's pretty crazy.
I love Gallen today. I'm a huge Gallen fan. I love him in this spot after a couple less than stellar outings. I wish he were at home here, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Minnesota strikes out so much. We'll get there. The weather has me a little bit concerned. The kind of nice thing is that the game isn't until about a half hour after lock, so we don't have to, make any rash decisions. I'm definitely going to play Gallen as of now, and Arizona bats.
Yeah. Wait, definitely are or definitely are not?
Definitely are. If it were another slate with more pitching options that I felt comfortable going with, maybe I'd have a different stance there. But I think Gallen, with Woodruff's limit, and I like Woodruff here, is by far the top pitcher on the slate with Glasnow now scratched.
So let's hit on Woodruff right now as well. So he is he pitched had 2 starts early in the year, strained his forearm in the second. So he missed basically the last 4 months. He has made 3 starts in the minors, and he went 32 to 52 and then ended up with 72 pitches on Tuesday. That game, they did have him come out for the 5th inning. He ended up going 4 2/3. It sounds like a 75 to 80 soft cap on him today. If he's cruising, I could see him getting up to 85. I don't think he comes out for the 6th inning under any circumstances. I find it hard to believe. Milwaukee has a 1.5 game lead on the Cubs and a 2.5 game lead on the Reds for the National League Central Division. They're going to need Woodruff starting every 5 days. Why risk him at this point? He's 30 years old. To me, it just seems like this is essentially a tune-up start. Go out there, 75, 80 pitches. That's my read on it. I see some other industry sites are projecting him for as high as 90 pitches. I disagree with that. It's not out of the realm of outcomes, but I would not have that as the baseline pitch count.
I agree. I wouldn't have it as the baseline. I also think it's probably slightly higher than your 75 to 80, only because he went 72 in his last outing. So, yeah, I don't expect him to go anything over 90 here. I think would be very surprising.
Do you think he goes beyond the 5th inning under any circumstance?
I mean, yeah, I see some circumstances like if he's
because I bet him on the under 16.5 on BetMGM. Here you go.
If he's 60 pitches through 5 innings, they're not taking him out. You know what I mean? That's an anomaly, but stuff like that happens. So sure, I do think that the more, if he's like cruising without a ton of pitches, you're still not going to see him. Like they'll pull him earlier than they normally would. I think 5 innings is reasonable. I think if he's pitching really well, 6 isn't out of the question. Good strikeout pitcher. You definitely have me scared off of him a little bit. If you're not playing Woodruff, like who you playing? I think the answer could be Kyle Bradish, but him as a chalky option kind of scares me. So we'll get to him in a bit.
Yeah, and this kind of, I was excited because I knew the optimizers were going to be putting out the single game lineup, the single game 50-50s. They were going to make sure that people had Woodruff in it, just the way things are projecting and what most of those people use in those contests. And so I was excited to go to Glass now. And it's
I get that.
Now I'm like, I can't go to Glass now.
That for sure.
Do I really want to go to Woodruff? So that's the theory.
I wasn't really on it. Yeah, when the slate opened and I looked at it, I was certainly just looking at Gallen and Glasnow as the top 2 pitchers because of Woodruff's limit. But with Glasnow now out of the picture, like I think Woodruff is definitely in play. I mean, if nothing else, it's interesting that he's the top guy in our top pitchers pool and getting by far the most ownership. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah. So we'll see how things shake out. I see Guitar Z-Man 24/7 in chat. He says South Dakota has a wraparound system heading east towards Minnesota. He thinks there will be rain at some point. Okay, well that's good. We'll check that out. Now the interesting thing is most of the weather is kind of in the Midwest, which is the 2:00 games. So we'll have about 30 minutes to bail out after lock if we don't like the way things are shaping up. So that will be kind of interesting. But make sure you have contingency plans for that. But let's jump on in. So reminder, hey, everybody, hit that like button. We got a whole bunch of people watching here. We're up to almost 500 people, 64 likes. We can get that up to 100. Don't embarrass us here. Get that up to 100. We're bringing you this show free on Sunday yet again. We're sponsored by BetMGM. You can see above me, there is the $1,000 bet back option they have if you're up to $1,000 if your first wager loses. When you sign up, come in through our link in the YouTube description below us or use the promo code PLATINUMSUB. Sign up, create your BetMGM account using one of those 2 methodologies. Make a $10 wager. As soon as it settles, they're going to give you a code that gets you 30 days of stochastic premium. It'll pop right up on your Insight BetMGM email account. All you got to do to redeem that is go to stochastic.com, go to the subscriptions page, choose the 30-day full access package, put in that promo code, it'll make it free. Fantasy Cruncher is a separate add-on, but that's the best deal we've got out there. So that in and of itself is almost a $100 value. Plus you get a bet back. So if you bet $10 on your first bet, it loses. they'll give you a $10 credit. 100, they'll give you 5 $20 credits. 1,000, you lose, they'll give you 5 $200 credits. You have a week to use them. But that is what they mean by bet back. So you get a second chance, right? It's not a guarantee, but you get a second chance, which is a pretty good deal. Remember, if you or anyone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. The standard age for wagering in most states is 21. All right, take us here to the first game. We kind of hit on the weather. We hit on that breaking pitching news, which means we've got game number 1, Mets at Baltimore. Kyle Bradish going against Jose Quintana. All of a sudden, Kyle Bradish is in the mix as a cash game pitcher for me today. Oh, what a world we live in. Take us through the first game here, Matt.
Yeah, I think that Bradish, given the slate, looks pretty good. I mean, he's having a solid year. He's not crazy expensive. He's not cheap. But given the limitations on Woodruff, no more Glass now, weather with Gallen, like I could see why anyone would just want to use Bradish here. The Mets, I mean, their lineup is not very good, especially the bottom half of it is atrocious. Still got some guys up top that have power. Doesn't feel right to me. I've unfortunately used the Mets a little bit recently, and they've been awful. I hate using a team and then going to the opposite pitcher against them when it's a guy like Bradish who could easily get hit around here. That said, on paper, you got to like the Bradish side. He's, ranking the game, the top option here. I don't think Quintana is like the worst play in the world, but I don't see the need for it, and I have no confidence in it at all.
All right. My take on it is very similar here. Quintana 6,700 is definitely going to have some tournament interest. You're going to get probably 80 pitches out of him. That's a reasonable dollar per pitch ratio at 6,700 on DraftKings as an SP2. Tangling with the batters of Birdland, never an exciting prospect here, but we don't have a lot of standout options, and they're only going to get shakier the deeper into this show that we get. If you are stacking the Orioles, where are you going? You going with the Mountcastle, Anthony Santander, Jordan Westburg path there?
I think that's probably the most optimal path. They're priced up a little bit up top. I much prefer them against righties, especially in Baltimore, given how the ballpark lays out. That said, Quintana's not a guy I'm scared to pick bats against, so I think the Baltimore stack looks good. There are just better stacks for me on the board. Like if Baltimore wins it again, facing a lefty, so be it. It's just not where I'm going to go. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I just like other spots more.
All right, let's get to some of those other spots because we do have a lot of shows or a lot of games this week. So the show will have to keep on moving. There's only 2 4:00 games. So we've got most of the slate is front loaded. Last week, I think we had 8 games. So I believe it's 11 on this one, but let's move on to our next one here. You've got Zach. I want to go with Jose Urquidy and Carlos Rodon. So do you remember Carlos Rodon, number 5 in the National League Cy Young Award votes last year? How things have changed over the last year. So he was dealing with an injury. So let's look at him because he is getting kind of steamed up, as the kids say, on some of these cheap sites. He's cheap. So he has gone 24 1/3 innings. He has allowed 16 walks. That's a challenge. Velocity is about the same as what it was in the last few years. It's location and control that just seemed to be an issue for him. I read one article that said, hey, it's kind of like spring training for him. It's like, you know what? It is. I wish I remember who that was that wrote that. That was not my assessment, but they're correct. So 5 starts this season. He has 20 strikeouts in those 24 innings. He's also allowed half a dozen home runs. So he's going to be going against the Astros. The Astros I like a lot today. I really like Alex Bregman, and I didn't realize how bad he had been the last 2 years against lefties. He used to be just absolutely smashing. Over the last 30 days, he does have close to a 200 isolated power. I think in like 50 at-bats or something like that against lefties. But it was not the green I was expecting to see like most of his teammates had. And it was certainly surprising to me to see that. Then we've got, on the other side, we've got Urquidy, who I don't even know. I didn't even realize what happened. I think he got hurt. He's been he last pitched.
Tommy John, I think.
Oh, you're right.
He missed all of last year.
So last year he got hurt on April 30th.
Yeah.
As I'm looking at this, these are. Where's that this year?
No,
let me go look him up. But in any event, we'll take a look.
Missed like most or all of last year.
Talk about Rodon, and let me see what Urquidy's numbers say here.
I mean, you kind of said it best with Rodon. Like, he's cheap for his ultimate talent level, what we've seen from him in the past, but he's certainly not pitching like that right now. And I personally am not going to use him against Houston here. Not a team you want to take guys. Houston's very patient. A lot of right-handers in this lineup. So it's a no for me for Rodon. I don't like Houston as much as I think you do, it sounds like. That said, I like them over Baltimore. And just like to give an example of our top stack tools here, Baltimore and Houston are neck and neck. They're right next to each other in our top stack tool. 5% chance for Baltimore, 5.1 for Houston. Baltimore is getting 6.8% ownership. Houston's getting 2.5%. And the pitcher that Baltimore's facing is not getting any ownership. The pitcher that Houston's facing is getting a lot of ownership. So, like in that scenario, give me Houston over Baltimore all day. That said, Houston's a lot more expensive than Baltimore. So you got to figure out a way to make that work. With the price tags, how they are, I cannot prioritize Houston here. I'm just hoping that both Rodon and Houston have kind of mediocre mid games. You can't play everyone. Not going to be where I land, but I certainly get it. And I like the Houston side more than Rodon.
Yeah, and for me, it's really a tournament leverage because I figure more people are going to go to Rodon. So I'll just
definitely. It's a great tournament play.
Yeah. So looking at Urquidy here, he had shoulder soreness or shoulder inflammation. Okay. That's kept him out. He has made 4 minor league starts. The first was 2 weeks ago. 32 pitches, 45 pitches, 53 pitches, 76 pitches on July 30th here. Those were for the first 2 were for AAA Sugarland in the PCL, and then the latter 2 were in AA Texas League for that. So expect 75, 80 pitches from him today. I don't really want to play him. Even when he's fully healthy, there's not a ton of it. He doesn't get enough strikeouts to really be an upside play in DFS. We play him sometimes as an SP2 for a price play if it's in a good matchup, but I don't really like that one today. Any Yankee bats in particular you'd be interested in?
Yeah, I was hoping you'd ask me that. I don't love the stack, but man, Jake Bauers leading off 2,600 has been good against right-handed pitching. Home runs in back-to-back games. I think he makes for a really good one-off.
Yeah, he is. He knocked one out. Yeah, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, he is pretty good, as they say. All righty, let's continue on here. Get into a bit of a rhythm here. Did we get up to 100 likes? Yes, we did. 115. So let's do another game here. Let me get back to this because this one will be fun. We're going to talk some offense here. You've got Zach Greinke going into Philadelphia, taking on Taijuan Walker. 5.8 implied run total here for the Phillies. Greinke, he's toast. He used up all the magic he had last year. This year, eminently hittable. I think he's got like a 1-11 record, and he's finally getting hit for some power. The cunning, the guile, the smoke, the mirrors, it's not doing a whole lot. I love Kyle Schwarber today. On the other side, you've got Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker gets he has a better strikeout reputation amongst most DFS gamers until they look at his strikeout numbers and you're like, I thought he was a strikeout pitcher. No, not particularly. But at his price, he does look like an SP2 for cash game against Kansas City. Back half of Kansas City's lineup is an absolute disaster. So, wow, we're going all Phillies all the time, it sounds like. Do you have anything nice to say about the Kansas City Royals? I
like Freddie Fermin at 2,800 hitting 5th.
Okay.
Yeah, hit 2 home runs yesterday. He's a pretty good hitter. He's a catcher. He's hitting 5th, and he's 2,800. So I almost said Felix Fermin, but I stopped myself. Yeah, other than that, though, I mean, Kansas City doesn't look particularly good here. I keep looking at Taijuan Walker like, man, given the pitching options, he's cheap in a good matchup. I can't do it unless we hear the weather gets worse for Gallen. That said, I understand why he's getting ownership. The top part of this game, though, is the Philly offense. You mentioned it. Greinke's toast. Philly looks great here. A lot to like about their offense. The complete stack looks good. They're not even too expensive. They've got affordable pieces like littered throughout. So Philly looks like one of, if not the top stack on the board. They're right behind Cincinnati in our top stack tool. So makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it just, God. Would you go with Bradish or Taijuan Walker? Bradish is $1,000 more, projects out for about, let's call it 2 points more.
I think Bradish is I just think Bradish is more strikeout upside. You mentioned it. Taijuan Walker doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, and strikeouts are king in DFS because all it takes is for like one rough inning for Walker. It's really hard for him to make that back. And as far as lineups go, I think the Mets lineup is a little bit better, but given how the teams have played.
Are we sure? DJ Stewart, Omar Narvaez. I'm starting with the cleanup hitter, DJ Stewart, by the way.
Right.
Omar Narvaez, Mark Vientos, Brett Baty, Danny Mendick, and Rafael Ortega. Yikes.
Lineup stinks. So I don't even know if they're better. And my point was going to be, like, this is impossible to quantify and you're not doing anything with it. But the Mets have been awful lately. Like, they've sold everyone at the trade deadline. The team has been atrocious. Kansas City's actually playing good ball right now for the first time all season. So, I don't know. Give me the guy against the dead offense, if you will.
Yeah. Oh my God. Who's more likely to hit a ball out of the infield? Matt Duffy for Kansas City or Danny Mendick for the Mets?
Oh man. I didn't know you could say. When you said Duffy, I was gonna say anyone else, but then you dropped in Mendick. So I might actually have to say Duffy. It's the same. It's like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, they might as well and then we'll say Pete Alonso, but he has to hold the bat upside down. I'll take Pete Alonso still. Yikes! All righty. Well, there we go. Suddenly, Taijuan Walker and Kyle Bradish are our replacements here for Tyler Glasnow. Who would have thought that would be the case? Does Greinke even move the needle at all at 5,900?
No.
On DK. So
no.
SP2. No. Okay. Continuing along, a little more to talk about here. Chris Bassett.
For me.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say for me, like if you don't play Greinke, you just don't play Philly.
Okay. Because Greinke doesn't have the strikeout upside, and you're just saying, all right, Philly scuffles and gets 4 runs.
Right. I'm not saying that like that's what you should do, but I just don't think there's enough strikeout upside with Greinke. Now he is really cheap, but like I think Philly will be pretty popular here. So like I think the leverage is enough and just like not playing them if that's your stance. I struggle to see Greinke giving you an outing where like you need him at all.
All right. Let's look at the next game because now all of a sudden Chris Bassett is someone we got to talk about. So we have Bassett going against Brendan Bernardino for Boston. I'm assuming Bernardino is going to serve as an opener. Either way, I don't really want to tangle. Even with this Sunday lineup that the Toronto Blue Jays have put out, it does hurt them to not have Bichette. However, they are giving us batting third, Davis Schneider, $2,700 second baseman, Brandon Belt, $3,300 first baseman. That kind of allows you to do whatever you would like to do. George Springer batting cleanup today here. No Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Too bad Boston doesn't have a better pitcher going today because they'd be kind of interesting. Bassett is staring down a 5.2 implied run total from Boston. What are you thinking about the Hound?
I mean, I think the other options we talked about are probably better in this spot, like Bradish and Walker. As far as talent goes, I think those 3 guys right now, you could honestly put in any order. I would have no argument if you put Bassett first there, but he's in the toughest spot, like by far. I just don't really see it here with Bassett. That said, there's a lot of pitchers on this slate I don't want to use. So, I think that the case can be made for Bassett, just that he's talented. For me, though, this game's all about the Toronto bats. I love Toronto in this spot. They've got going a little bit recently. I love George Springer. He was in the midst of an 0 for 35 slump last week broke out of it, has started to see the ball a lot better. I think he went 4 for 4 yesterday. And you mentioned it, Davis Schneider hitting third at 2,700. I know how this goes, though. I've stacked Toronto the past couple of days. They've been good. Schneider has not been in the DK pool. He's been very good. So now I know he's going to be awful now that he's actually
now that you have a chance to get in on the fun.
And he was hitting like 7th, 8th, and he put up, and he's averaging 15 DraftKings points per game. That doesn't mean anything, but that's what he's done in his first 2 games. So, well, hopefully it continues. I like Toronto a lot here. Their lineup sets up well for this spot. No Vlad, no Bichette really hurts the lineup. No Vlad hurts it, but it also makes it a lot cheaper. So, and it also does, you can't roster Belt and Vlad on DK at the same time. Right. So it makes it a little bit easier to stack them. I like this lineup today. So I'm riding with Toronto. I like them a lot in this spot. And our top stack tool does as well. They're 5th. And there's all these teams are kind of jumbled after Cincinnati, who's easily our top team. So I like Toronto a lot here.
All right. I'm just looking to see who's probably going to come in.
Chris Murphy.
Who? Murphy?
Yeah, Murphy. Yesterday, they said it was going to be Murphy, but it was Pavetta. So it's Murphy today.
All right. So, so they used 4 relievers yesterday, but they still have Kenley Jansen hasn't gone in almost a week. And then Lavara and Blyer last pitched Friday. Nick Robertson hasn't pitched in a week, and then Murphy. So Murphy, you're right, does look like probably the long reliever because he is a lefty. And that's what I wanted to see. Not that it matters a ton when you have Brandon Belt at such a low price in a prominent spot in the order, but it is, this year he has not really faced lefties. He doesn't even, I don't think he even has an extra base hit against a lefty. So that's a bit of a challenge. So I was looking at him as a potential cash game first baseman. I was hoping it would be a righty coming in. There will be some righty relievers in there. Belt's going to get 4 or so at bats. Hopefully 2 of them are against righties, but not quite as exciting for your cash game.
I will say, based on that point, I like Belt a lot more in the stack than as a one-off. But just given that. In the stack, base runners on. Neither of these lefties that Boston thrown out there are any good. But your point's well taken. Like, Belt is not very good against left-handed pitching. And as a one-off, there's other guys probably in better spots. Like, I think Christian and Encarnacion Strand is basically the same price. Probably a better cash game play hitting cleanup. Just my opinion.
All right. Mr. Cool Cam 97 here with the super chat asking favorite contrarian stack on FanDuel. Have we crossed over your favorite contrarian stack yet?
Have we crossed over my favorite?
Have we talked about it yet, or is it coming up?
No, we have not talked about it yet.
Okay, so we'll save this one, Mr. Cool Cam, but I'll make sure that Matt gives his full breakdown of his favorite contrarian stack. All righty, back to the task at hand. So, how are you feeling about Devers? Devers or Nolan Arenado at third base? Nolan Arenado going against lefty
that's a good
Austin
one.
Gomber.
I like St. Louis more than I like Boston today, just because I think Gomber's much worse than Bassett. So give me Arenado there. But I mean, Devers against a good but not great righty is always in play. I mean, Devers hits great pitching, so he's in play any slate he's on for me. I just like Arenado more in this spot. Yeah. As a hitter, though, overall, I think Devers is better than Arenado at this point, though.
Yeah, we're really splitting hairs here. Let me look and see. I'm going to go with Devers. I'm just making my cash game laugh. Selfishly. Tell me your stack here for Boston.
I think the stack is the lefties, all the lefties you can get. You mentioned Devers is always the top piece. He homered yesterday. Casas, Duran, Yoshida, Verdugo. This lineup sets up pretty well against Bassett. I like the Boston stack more than I like Bassett. The only thing I'll counter that with is there's a lot of stacks I like today and not a lot of pitchers.
Okay. All righty. Anything else from this game?
I like Toronto a lot.
Okay, let's go go to our next one here. This one will be kind of fun. So Washington versus Cincinnati. You've got Jake Irvin on the mound, who has been adequate, I guess, as a rookie for a really bad team. In other words, he's like a number 4 or number 5 starter. He's had moments. He's not always a gas can, but this is the best home run park in all of baseball, Great American Small Park here. So we're going to like the Reds. The Reds are countering with Lyon Richardson here. He is a righty. Somehow, who is it? Yohan Adon had.
Can't believe that.
He finally gave up a home run to TJ Friedel in like the 6th inning or something. But it was like, who the hell is this guy? And I said so many bad things about him in the article. It's like he just stuck it to me.
He was the worst pitcher in baseball last year.
Yeah, he's the 20th prospect for the Nationals.
He's so bad. Man, the Reds were chalk yesterday. And I expect similar ownership here. A little bit less because it's a bigger slate. The Reds are the top stack on the board. Our top stack tool says it. Projections say it. Pretty much anywhere you look today is going to have Cincy on top. The only bad part about Cincy is the ownership. I mean, they've got cheap guys in their lineup littered throughout. They've got MPEs, like 4 guys with MPEs here. So I don't know. Cincinnati looks really good here. They're going to get a lot of love, though. So we know how that goes in baseball. I will say, just because we didn't even talk about them, and I'm thinking about this since someone asked me about my favorite under-owned stack or whatever the question was, and we're getting to that. But one team we didn't talk about at all that I really like today is Tampa. The weather does not look bad for hitters. Matt Manning is not good. Tampa is coming in very, very low owned. So, like, as a pivot to Cincy, I like Tampa. That's kind of why I brought them up here. That said, in cash games, small tournaments, even if you want to play them in bigger tournaments, of course, Cincy's the top stack on the board.
All right, I'm just looking up Lyon Richardson. He was drafted in the 2nd round of the 2018 draft out of high school, has literally done nothing in the minors. So there must be some injuries there because he didn't, 2020, the minors were shut down. He didn't play in 2022. So I'm guessing he was hurt. He's been with Cincy the whole time. Does he even rate out as a prospect? Richardson? No, he doesn't. So he is, I lied. He's their number 3 prospect. How is that possible? Well, they've promoted everybody else. So, okay.
Right.
So good fastball, good fastball, good changeup. He has a grand total of 3 innings at AAA in his career. He had 46 in AA this season. That's the first he's been at that level. So he has no seasoning whatsoever. And he has about, eyeballing it, let's just call it 250 innings in the minors for his career since 2018. He profiles as slightly below average for strikeouts, slightly above average for walks, and for home runs. He gets to face the Nationals. Do you want to play him? Let's look at
No, he's not going to. I think he only went 49 pitches or something. He's not going to go deep enough in this game to use him. If he were stretched out, maybe I'd have a little interest, but not really.
Yes. So thank you. You bought me some time there. So here's his last 5 games, starting with the farthest back: 67, 56, 43, 39, 47, 46. He's going to throw 50 pitches, 55 pitches. So take him out of your player pool.
Yeah, agreed. I think Washington's way more in play than he is. They're also going to get love, though. I mean, they're cheap in a great ballpark. Cincy is like mini cores, so I get why this game is projected to be really high owned, and both teams are projected very well in our top stack tool. It makes a lot of sense.
All right. If you're stacking Washington, you including or excluding Keibert Ruiz batting cleanup today?
I mean, I think he's the best play if you're stacking them, right? Like hitting cleanup at 3,200, you knock out the catcher position. He's the top play in Washington if you stack them. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's either him or Alejandro Kirk at catcher today, I think, if you're going cheap.
Well, I don't necessarily think that he's the best catcher play, but I think he's the best play on Washington if you're stacking the Nationals.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
The thing about Washington that makes them a nice stack, and I know Adam talks about this, like when you knock out 2 premium positions in shortstop in Abrams and catcher and Ruiz, they're once, Abrams is hitting leadoff, Ruiz hitting cleanup. They're cheap. Like, if I were building lineups right now, I might have some Washington. I'm not. I already did, and I don't. But I like, those 2 guys in particular.
Okay. So to be clear, they're not your contrarian stack for Mr. Cool Cam.
No, they're not.
Okay. We're building anticipation with this. Now
Tampa is close to that, but they're like not getting any love, Tampa. So I could say Tampa's that stack, but they're going to come in second for me there. We're getting to that.
Let's hop over to that game because that's up next. And we still have like half the slate to go here. So actually, let's take one step back. Who would you stack from Cincinnati? Who's your priorities?
Friedel looks really good. Encarnacion Strand hitting cleanup cheap looks really good. Ellie's expensive, but MPE and upside. So the full stack looks good. I mean, if you're stacking Cincy, it's more play against Jake Irvin in the ballpark. So there's not like one particular guy that I like.
Okay, so Tampa Bay. So Erasmo Ramirez, he's back. Matt Manning, he's bad. Motor City Kitties, 5.1 implied run total for Tampa Bay. Oh, so I'm sorry, 5.2 implied run total here for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay running out a very strong lineup like they usually do because they plug and play all of their key options. You've got Yandy Diaz, Wander Franco, Brandon Lau, Randy Arozarena, Luke Rayleigh, Isaac Paredes, and Josh Lowe. I don't know who Kurt Mead is. So he's the guy I wouldn't play. Congratulations on your home run today, Kurt Mead. Yeah.
Are you talking about Curtis Mead?
Yes.
Oh, he's one of their top prospects. He's like their 3rd prospect. He's good. I mean, not that he projects to be like great right now, but he's 2,100. So I would play him in a stack.
Okay. So break this one down for us. No Erasmo Ramirez, right?
No, he's 4K, but I don't think he's going to be pitching that deep in this game. He pitched 3 days ago, so only 3 days rest. He pitched 4 days ago, excuse me.
He's good for 30 pitches today. That would be my guess.
Yeah,
good for 2 innings. 2 innings, 3 if he's incredibly efficient. So no point in going.
He's not even that good. So not that it matters if you're good at 4K, but like I'm not going out of my way to roster Erasmo Ramirez on like a big time pitch limit. No thanks here. This is all about the Tampa bats for me. They're coming in 3rd, 4th in our top stack tool. Like middle of the pack in ownership, 10th in ownership, 11th in ownership, something like that. I love Tampa here. What's not to like? Matt Manning stinks. It's not the worst ballpark either. There were some weather concerns, but those have been kind of washed out, pun intended. It looks like the game will be fine for hitters. We don't have to worry about that from a pitching side because Glasnow's no longer on the slate. I like Tampa a lot here, even not even accounting for ownership. With ownership accounted for, like they look similar to Cincy to me. I get the ballpark's better for Cincy, but Tampa's lineup is better than Cincy's. I like Tampa a lot here. I don't understand the ownership. They're a little bit expensive, but it's really not hard to get to make it work. I like them a lot.
Do they feel like your sneaky stack?
They're 2nd place for me. So There's one team that I like that's a little bit sneakier than them, but you could make the case that they're number 1 for me. They're 1B.
Any reason to go to anybody on Detroit?
I don't see it. I don't love picking on going to bullpen games. Erasmo's not good, and you obviously have a step down from Glasnow. A lot of times, like in the past, DK, when teams would be facing an ace like Glasnow, they'd be priced like so cheap. Detroit isn't so cheap. So I just think there's so many good offenses on the slate. I have a hard time seeing Detroit being like the team you need. That said, I would go to Detroit over Erasmo.
Okay. Pittsburgh. at Milwaukee. For those of you that were late to the show, shame on you, but hit the like button because we have almost 150 likes. We have 670 people watching. That's almost a new Sunday high. Usually Father's Day we get a lot. Mother's Day we don't get many. But I'm happy. You guys are around. College football, not so much once we get into Saturday shows. And then Sunday, of course, we'll be turning it over to the NFL. And there won't be MLB. So enjoy the next couple of weeks because that's about all we have left for MLB Sunday. So please do hit that like button. Reminder, almost all of our shows do go out in podcast form. Live Before Locks do not, but all of our strategy shows do. We're also going to be having some special podcast only shows. So you're going to want to check out the Stochastic Podcast Network. Yes, we have multiple feeds and channels. We, of course, have the Stochastic channel, which does put out pretty much everything on it, but sometimes that feed can get a little bit crowded. So you can check out the other feeds that we have. Let me go find that link, and I will drop that into chat here for you. And dun, dun, dun. There we go. It is now in chat. All right. We have a few more games to go. So back to the Brandon Woodruff thoughts. So he has made 4 rehabilitation starts. He was hurt in this second start of the season. He got up to, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it was 74 pitches in his last start. I'm guessing, or 72. I'm guessing for him about around 75 or 80. I find it maybe an easier way to say it. I don't expect him to come out after the 5th inning. Unless he gets there incredibly efficiently, and I'm not going to count on that. So I'm not really interested in him in any format. I'm almost positive that's where most people are going to go with one of their cash game pitchers on DraftKings. I am not going in that direction. I did not end up with any Pittsburgh in my lineups, but Pittsburgh is the usual. Jack Sawinski is probably my favorite. Josh Palacios. He's leading off at 2,400. He's going to get 5 at bats. Those would be the 2 guys I'm most interested in. How are you feeling about Woodruff? You've had a little time to marinate on this.
I feel a little bit worse about him than I did before the show, just because clearly you don't like him here. So it's hard
I also said take the under on Framber Valdez's 4.5 strikeouts before his last start because he stopped throwing the cutter for 3 starts. And then that SOB went and threw a no-hitter. So what do I know? I'm not sure I should be the one you're listening to. Although I did get 2 of the 3 home runs right on our show last week, and I'm on a 2-day home run streak in my article. So we'll see.
Multiple weeks you've gotten the home run call right.
Yeah,
so.
I've been pretty lucky on the Sunday home runs. So, but yeah, I don't have a good feeling about Woodruff today. But I also said, we did the show, and I said take the under on 6.5 strikeouts for Lance Lynn. He's had a career high, 13 strikeouts that day, and a season MLB high for swinging strikes.
Oh yeah, man, I can't believe this was.
I miss badly.
It doesn't matter how bad you miss when you miss. Like if you lose by 1 or you lose by 20, it's all the same.
All righty. So back to you, Woodruff. Any Pittsburgh thoughts? Any Oviedo thoughts?
Definitely no Pittsburgh. Definitely no Oviedo. I like Woodruff here. I don't love him because of the pitch, the concerns, and he also hasn't pitched in a while, but he's an ace, in my opinion. Like, if you're asking me who I would take personally to start a team with, Woodruff or Burns, if both are healthy, et cetera, give me Woodruff. So I like Woodruff a lot here. He's actually discounted a little bit from what you'd normally see if he were stretched out. So I guess thinking about it like that, the ownership makes sense. I mean, Woodruff is a 10K plus pitcher when he's on, and he's 9,300 here. He's not cheap. You're not getting like a massive discount, but I think he's fine here. The biggest reason why I don't mind him, and again, I don't mind him, I don't love him here, is the other options, and I just don't see this being a slate where pitching wins the slate. I just, the ultimate range for pitchers is much smaller than it is for hitters. Now, obviously, you get those outliers. You talked about Framber Valdez's perfect game, or no-hitter, excuse me. Andrew Heaney striking out like 13 last week. Those things happen, but for the most part, a pitcher's range is like 8 points. Hitters really are where slates are won. I'm going to count on that today. And I think Woodruff is solid here. Like, even if you don't think he goes past 5, I don't think you have any interest in Pittsburgh bats. Like, the reason you don't like Woodruff here is because of his pitch concerns, not because you think Pittsburgh gets to him. Now, anything can happen. It's baseball, but they have the lowest implied total on the slate. I like Woodruff here. The ownership in a weird way just makes me feel more comfortable. Usually I feel like the other way around. Obviously, I'm a tournament player, but here I think I'll just take the ownership and run with it.
What about bats?
I think you could make a case for Milwaukee here. Oviedo's decent. He's not a guy I think you have to pick on, but Milwaukee's lineup is also decent. So on a lot of sites I'd have more interest in Milwaukee, but I talked about it. There are a bunch of stacks that I like that I'm not getting to. Milwaukee is not a team that I'm prioritizing here. They're middle of the road in top stack percentage. Actually, they're towards the top. They're towards the bottom, excuse me. So I had my list all wrong. They're not a team that I'm going out of my way for. Given the slate, actually, I think I'd rather take Oviedo than Milwaukee.
Really? Okay.
There's just no cheap pitchers I like. I mean, Oviedo or Quintana for you?
Oviedo.
I think it's close, but I also think Oviedo. And, like, I'm not playing either of them, but
yeah,
there are no cheap pitchers that's why there are so many stacks I like. A lot of these cheap pitchers are garbage. You've got Austin Gomber, in St. Louis, Jake Irvin, Keuchel, Matt Manning. Really isn't a good cheap pitcher here. So I guess from way earlier in the show when you asked me about Zach Greinke, like, he's not the craziest play in the world because he fits right in with those other guys and he's cheaper than them. That said, I don't like any of them.
All righty. We're going to continue on here. 18 minutes until a lock. We got 4 more games here. Arizona at the Twins. Dallas Keuchel back in our lives. Remember when he won the Cy Young back in 2017? It's a long time ago.
Remember?
Led the league in innings, batters faced, and whip. That's impressive to lead the league in batters faced and whip. That's walks plus hits per innings pitched. Let's see. He was down with AAA. He played for 3 different teams last year, including Arizona. He's got the call up this year. He actually opted out of his contract, but Joe Ryan went on the injured list. So Keuchel was actually pitching for AAA St. Paul. They had to call him up. I forget. I read the article. I forget it was August 1st, August 2nd, something like that. He opted out so he could sign with any team that he wanted, and then Joe Ryan got hurt. So essentially, that's where the Twins are like, all right, well, we'll send you out there. Last year, when he had 60.2 combined innings for the Diamondbacks, Rangers, and White Sox with a 9.2 ERA, he did have a 5.5 xFIP, so merely horrible instead of god awful. But with some bad luck, but we can attack him today. I think we want Ketel Marte, Tommy Pham, Christian Walker would be my top 3. Corbin Carroll, why not? Because he's Corbin Carroll. Is Arizona your sneaky stack?
They're not, but I like them.
Rain?
I'm
gonna look at weather while you're doing this. So
I like Arizona a lot here. I'm not really buying what Keuchel's selling in the minor leagues. It does make me more hesitant than I would be on Arizona because he's just been a gas can the past couple of years. And to see him pitching well at AAA, like, this is a guy, as you mentioned, won the Cy Young. So we know there's talent there. That said, I'm not buying it. So give me all the Arizona. Great ballpark for them. Tons of right-handed power against Keuchel here. They've got cheap pieces. Another team like Carson Kelly and Nick Ahmed aren't sexy plays at all, but they're both under 3K. They help you fit in the Ketel Martes, Corbin Carrolls, Tommy Pham and Lourdes Gurriel Jr., both notorious lefty mashers in the middle of this lineup at affordable price tags. I like Arizona a lot here. My number 1 sneaky stack is also a team facing a lefty. So that's the hint for you.
We're running out of teams. I'm looking at the weather here. It's going to rain for the first 2.5, 3 hours. it's right on, and I'm looking at Weather in Motion, weather.com, so I know it's not always the best, but it looks like the Minneapolis-St. Paul region is right on the edge of this storm, and they're just going to have drizzle probably all afternoon until about 4:30, and then it looks like it's clearing out. There's your weather take. You guys know where to go to find what the actual meteorologists say, but there's mine. So I'm playing Zach Gallen. We'll see. I've got till 2. Yeah, I've got till 2:00 to take him out.
As of now, though, you play him.
As of now, I'm playing him. He's my cash game pitcher.
And who's your cash game number 2?
Bradish.
Okay, yeah. So
if I have to go to Woodruff, if I have to go to Woodruff, I will, knowing that that's probably going to be everybody's favorite pitcher on DK at this point.
I guess my biggest problem is like, if I go Gallen and Woodruff, who do I go to in the case that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I almost, I guess Sandy Alcantara would be like the guy, but I don't.
I would probably move. God, that's a tough call. It's going to be Alcantara or Haney, but we'll get to them in a second here.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from this one other than the weather looks dicey, folks? It's going to be wet.
Nah, not for me.
Okay. Have you taken Gallen out of your player pool?
No, but I'm thinking about it now. I'm just thinking about switching all my Gallen to Bradish. I don't love Bradish here, but the Mets lineup is weak.
Yeah. All righty. So let's see. What else do we got here? 3 more games to go. Colorado Rockies at the St. Louis Cardinals. Austin Gomber, he is so bad. The Cardinals, despite not doing well in the records this year, they have the same run differential as Miami, basically. Both are at like -30 or -31. And somehow the Cardinals are 10 games worse, right? So they're basically out of playoff contention, and the Marlins are peskily in it. It's just happenstance. The St. Louis offense has not been the problem. They have, I think, 5th most home runs, 12th most overall runs, and they score 4.7 runs per game. It's pretty good. So line up the Redbirds for me. I don't want their pitchers in this game. I don't want Zach Thompson or Austin Gomber. Talk to me about the Redbirds. Do you have any Cardinals or any Colorado interest?
Nah, not really. Kind of a bullpen game from St. Louis. I don't think they're like a bad stack. There's just other stacks I like more. So if I were playing 150 here, I'd probably get to a little bit of Colorado, but not a team in 10 lineups I'm prioritizing at all. Their offense just stinks, so it's hard to like really get excited about them on such a big slate.
Talk about the Redbirds then.
Yeah, they look great.
That can't be your sneaky stack, though, right?
Definitely not. I mean, they're number 2 in our or number 3 in our top stack tool. They look great here. They've got a ton of power against lefties. Gomber is not good. Arenado, Goldie, Edman leading off at 3,300. He'll be one of the most popular hitters on the slate with shortstop and outfield eligibility, but he should be. His lineup looks elite here. 1 through 9, I think you can go to. Nootbaar hitting 9th at 4,500. Like, obviously isn't a cash play or anything like that, but in tournaments, like, yeah, I think he'll be very low owned. And, whenever you can get like kind of a popular stack, but get pieces that are much lower owned, I'm all about that. So 1 through 9, I like St. Louis here. They look like one of, the top overall plays on the board. I think I'm just going to risk it with Gallen. If I loved Bradish here, I'd be using him, but I really like Gallen in this spot. So I'm willing to risk it a little bit.
I'm going 40%, plus he's my cash game pitcher for Gallen.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm going 35% on Woodruff. That's too much. I'm going 30% on Woodruff. We have him at 50% on DK right now. I would go like 20% if we still had Glass now, but we lost Glass now. That hurts.
For sure.
Anything else from this one? The usual cards just load up on the righties, which is pretty much everybody but Nolan Gorman.
Yeah, and then if you're stacking them, like, Gorman and Met and Nootbaar, like, you're going to get some weak righties out of the pen. Colorado's bullpen stinks, so Cardinal stack looks great here. Now, they've disappointed a ton when they've looked great, so not going to be shocked when they don't come through, but on paper, they're right there with like Cincinnati, Philly, Tampa, in my opinion. So Toronto is right there too. So all those teams look good.
Alrighty, let's go to Atlanta and Chicago. How are you feeling about Justin Steele?
No
toughest
way.
matchup of his season right here.
Yeah, you can't use Steele here. He's a very good pitcher, but he doesn't strike out a lot of guys. He's expensive, and he's in the. I mean, picking up a pitcher against Atlanta right now is a fool's errand, in my opinion. That said, he's high in our top pitcher tool. I think just given the options, and he's not getting any love, nor do I think he should be. I have a very hard time making the case for Steele at this price point in such a tough matchup. I'm sure you feel similarly.
Yeah, I can't get there. I'm setting him at 5%. I boosted Charlie Morton just because I'm trying to go under on Woodruff, and who the hell else am I going to play? So I've boosted Charlie Morton to double the field, and I hope that gets him in my lineup. But I'm hoping, the 39-year-old that he's got the sinker ball working today and is inducing a lot of ground balls. That's my biggest hope.
For sure.
All right. We have – is your sneaky stack going to be the Miami Marlins?
It sure is.
Because they have a 124 weighted runs created plus against lefties so far this season?
I just think that Heaney –
fifth best in the league. Talk to me about it. Mr. Cool Cam, this one's for you.
Yeah. Yes, we finally got to them. I knew it was the last game when you asked, and I was chuckling inside. Miami's been very good against lefties this year, as you alluded to. Heaney was dominant his last time out, but he hasn't been that strikeout guy for most of this season, so it was nice to see it in his last matchup. The White Sox, though, talk about a team that's like on its dying legs. They look awful. Tim Anderson, I'm sure you saw that last night. That was amazing. He definitely deserved it. I mean, it was obviously I was watching it live.
But you know what? Both those guys handled themselves exactly like you would want one of your favorite players to do in a fight, right? None of this. They popped up, fists were out. It was like, oh wow, this is going to be an actual Donnybrook,
right? I did not realize Anderson
None of these
was
hold me back. It was like, oh snap! Even the umpire was like, oh,
yeah,
shit.
Right. I did not see at first that Jose connected, so I was wondering why. I didn't even see that part because there was so many players that there wasn't paying full attention. So I was like, why is Anderson so – I mean, he was having to get carried off by Vaughn. And then I rewound it and saw it, and I was like, damn. That was great to see. I am a Tim Anderson fan, but I could see why he rubs people the wrong way. That said, we only have a couple minutes left, and I want to talk about Miami.
Yes.
They look great here. Heaney, for me at least, in tournaments. Like on paper, they're obviously not the top stack on the board. We've talked about Cincy, Philly, the Cardinals, the Jays, the Red Sox, et cetera. So, they're not going to be a cash game play, but in tournaments, I like them a lot. You alluded to them being good against lefties already this year. I think Heaney is who Heaney is. So after he dominated last game, I expect regression to hit him here with a lineup I love that's full of cheap pieces, plus a guy like Jorge Soler who has monster power against lefties. You mentioned Kyle Schwarber at the beginning of the show. Obviously like him a lot. You got Soler at the same price point. I think that Schwarber is going to be much higher owned, and I like them about the same. So I like Miami here with big power upside in a huge ballpark upgrade for them, even if it's not like the best ballpark in the world.
Do you have specific call outs from Miami you want to hit on?
Jorge Soler and Avisal Garcia. So Soler, obvious reasons, having a great year, monster power. Garcia, it's always been good against lefties. He's 2,400. He's not a $2,400 hitter. Now, you might have some pinch hit risk late, but probably not if they're like cruising and getting to Heaney. Plus, he's 2,400. So if you get a hit in the RBI early, you're pretty much golden. So Avisal Garcia and Jorge Soler, my two favorite bats, price considered.
How are you feeling about Alcantara going against Texas?
I really don't like him here. I mean, how could you really like him here, right? Like, he's been better recently, but he's never a guy that has had, elite strikeout upside. Even last year in his Cy Young season, a lot of that was because he was going really deep in games. Now, he was striking guys out, don't get me wrong. And in DFS, if he were pitching like he was last year, I'd be more interested in him here. That said, I'm only interested even a little bit because I might be forced to get off Gallen. So if that happens, I don't hate Alcantara here. I mean, he's a good pitcher. It's just such a tough spot, man. Like, this Texas lineup is good. I don't feel quite the same about picking pitchers against Texas as I do Atlanta, but it's similar.
Top 3 stacks.
Toronto, Arizona. You got to say Cincy.
All right. Who are your top pitchers?
Woodruff, Gallen, Bradish, probably. I think you can make a case for Taijuan Walker and as replacing any of them, given their prices and weather and Woodruff's pitch count.
Home run of the day.
Avistel Garcia.
Okay. Bold. I like it. I'll go Jorge Soler.
I love it.
And, of course, Anthony Santander because it's a Sunday.
So because you went with Soler here, if you were making one lineup, had 4,900 left in outfield and an outfield spot left, would you play Soler or Schwarber? Pull up ownership on them right now.
I have Schwarber in my cash game, but I think the answer is Soler.
Okay. I do think Soler is the better tournament play given their ownership, but I'm going to make sure their ownership is. Yeah, Schwarber's projected to be the third highest owned outfielder on the slate at 14.5%. Now, it's not like I'm worried about that ownership for playing him, so I would not play him because of that, but Soler's projected for 6.2%. So given that, I like Soler more. I mean, I personally like Soler slightly more 1-for-1, although there's nothing really behind that. Like 1-for-1 baseball player is always so hard to answer, right?
It is. It really is. But then you try to envision who's going to hit the home run. And then you remember.
Well, if I had your superpower of seeing that, then it'd be easier for you to answer.
We shall see. We shall see. But hey, we've got the lineup generator here. So you guys got 2 minutes to upload your lineups. I just got mine uploaded. So let's go lineup generator. This is for MLB. We do the main slates either for DraftKings or FanDuel. You can do FanDuel stack types of 4-4, 4-3, 4 or 2-2. You can do DraftKings of 5-3, 4-4, or 5-0. Let's do 5-3 for fun. Let's do chalky lineups just because, and let's skip our hitters and pitchers. Let's see what we get here. So you build out lineups, and what this does is it's going to build double stacks for us because that's what we selected. It's going to put in pitchers and that usually will correspond interestingly with the offenses. And then, of course, the offenses are going to be correlated. You can see where your lineup is, how chalky something is. You can save, you can discard. If you save it, you can save up to 20 in the holding pen. We save a whole bunch of them. We can go look at them and see what our portfolio starts to look like. You can see that we have a whole bunch of Cincinnati and St. Louis. That makes a lot of sense because we did not ask for contrarian stuff today. If we look at stack exposures, you can see we're getting a lot of double stacks with those two teams. Yes, this is going to add up by more than 100 because it's giving us, it counts anything at 3 or more as a stack. So it's double stacking because we didn't ask it for 5.0. But you can export these to your CSV. You can go build more lineups. If we decide we like or don't like a lineup, we can go in and tweak it. Let's say we thought this was a good lineup, but we didn't like Brandon Woodruff. You can come in, use the remaining leftover salary and adjust. Maybe we wanted to go to Zach Gallen instead. And there we are. So that's how it works. The lineup generator. Promo code SCORE will get you 50% off your first week of the lineup generator. After that, it's $8.95 per week. This is the great equalizer, I think. It will not let you build bad lineups. Even if you're only playing $5-10 a day, it's worth it. This is to do this and not play bad lineups, you can use this. If you want to be 100, build 100 lineups, you can. You just have to do them in 20 lineup segments, but you can build out as many as you want. If you're a hand builder or a 3-max, this will give you a good feel for some of the better lineups. You can play around with it and start to influence things in a certain way. But this is a very cheap way to get a tool that uses a lot of the same magic principles that the simulator is doing as well, because these lineups are coming out of those simulations. So it's looking at where is your expected ROI, where is the field going to be, and where is the projection taking you. So it's incorporating a lot of that in there. You just don't have to do all the heavy lifting. But it's a pretty slick tool and fun to play with. We've had it for basketball, we got it for baseball, we'll have it for football. We also have it for some of the showdown slates as well. So pretty cool out there. That is the lineup generator. Promo code SCORE gets you 50% off your first week. We are at lock, Matt. Who are you terrified of not having enough of?
Cincy, easy.
Okay. How are you feeling about the weather? I'm going to be staring at weather in motion for the next 20 minutes and see what happens.
I mean, based on, where everyone looks for weather, I would be a lot more concerned if it were orange, yellow. I know how, Roth likes to kind of do this at this point. And, there's some risk here for sure. But I don't think the risk is like too heavy right now where I'm going to pull Gallon. That could change in the next 20 minutes, though.
Yeah, and look, Anthony Child says, "Hey, EMac, I had a first place finish last night with the lineup generator, 10 cents into $10. I play low stakes." Yeah, it's perfect for that. You could mess around with it. You come home late from work, especially with baseball. You're like, oh my God, what 2 stacks should I have and which pitcher and all of that. You're basically $1 a day. It's building lineups for you. I don't know what else to say. You're going to have a fighting chance. You're going to kick back. Kids are going to be in bed. You're going to sneak a beer because you might cash. You might do more than make cash. It was easy, right? It's all about having fun and saving time. That's the key with the stochastic tools here. And Alex wants to give something to the people that will help out the small timers, the ham and eggers, the microstakes folks. And so he and Tom believe in this one a lot. So that's why we're pushing it, because it's a really good product and it's very cheap.
Amen.
All right. Well, Matt, let's get on out of here. Thank you for being here. You guys can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. I am at EMac DFS. Hit that like button. Oh my God, we got 200 likes finally. It's the first time we've got there on a Sunday. Appreciate all of you. Heart emoji. With that, gamers, good luck.